year, I gave just kind of an introduction of the domain and what it is. The domain is basically your space to have your office. If you are a professional who works from home, raise your hand if you work from home. And the complications that come along with working from home are inviting strangers into your house, having the laundry looking at you, maybe having a kid pulling at your shirt all the time, maybe just not getting up and feeling awake because you don't have to put on work clothes, you don't have to put on shoes. How many days do you go without wearing shoes and then realize you don't have human interaction for a week and a half? So the domain helps you with that. Helps you get out, helps you feel motivated, helps you meet other entrepreneurs just like you, helps you meet other people just like you, gets you away from your laundry basket, because I know that's difficult, and just gives you that place to meet with your clientele that shows them that you are an established business and that you are a professional. So dress for the job you want, right? So I'm going to give you kind of a rundown of what I presented last year, which was just kind of the business plan at the very beginning. Last year at this time, I had my first 2 members, and I was still renovating. So I had, since November of 2018, bled a lot. There was lots of sweat put into that. And lots of energy. So I would get out of my full-time job at 5 o'clock, go straight over to the domain, and sometimes not leave until midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning. So that was that way for 3 or 4 months until I was fully I felt like it was not a hazard to walk into because it was rough. In February, I was able to quit my full-time job. For Valentine's Day, actually, it was my gift to myself, is I got to quit my full-time job and go work in the domain 100% of the time. And I am now the full-time receptionist at the domain. I am a event host, and of course, I'm the membership liaison. I just made that up. I tend to make up words all the time. But I did learn a lot of lessons along the way, mainly starting the day I got my key. So the day I got my key, things became pretty real, and I kind of wanted to talk about some lessons learned since then, and then how we're doing now. And lesson number 1 is your business plan. So I wrote a business plan to get a loan that I wanted for my business. Well, fortunately, I didn't have to go get a big enough loan in order to need the hefty business plan that I created. So I didn't really need that part of it because I didn't need a loan, but it was so good to have because I was able to see the outline, the goals, basically the vision of the domain from day 1 to, I wrote it for 2 years. So day 1 to day, Ron?
365 times 2.
Yeah. So I was able to see that, and I was able to visualize that, and each time that I needed to redo anything financially, I was able to go back and revert to that and basically talk that out. So I really did like that I did a really big business plan, but I didn't need it. I got a small loan, and then everything else was just sweat equity and doing things that I probably shouldn't have done that were dangerous to my health. But I did them anyways because it was free. So the second part of the business plan that I wanted to give you a lessons learned about was my market. So due to the fact that co-working is a pretty new model in Abilene, I didn't know what my market was. I did some market research as much as I possibly could, but even to this day, I'm having to define co-working to everybody that I meet. So co-working is not, a big market here, or I mean, it's not a big known word. So it's not commercial real estate, it's co-working. I don't sell leases, I don't sublease, I sell memberships. So it was really different when you talk to somebody and say, what are you looking for in a place to work that's not your home? A lot of it was just, I just need a spot. I need a spot with some internet, which didn't actually come out to be my market. My market actually ended up being completely different from what I thought it was, and my business plan did not outline that in the slightest. So look at your business plan regularly. If you have market research, make sure to do 2 or 3 of them. Different goals and aspirations for your different pieces of your business plan, because some of them actually didn't turn out the way I wanted them to. Another one I learned is uncontrollable circumstances, and Lauren knows this quite well. Uncontrollable circumstances that I did not account for really would have benefited me. My air conditioner in half of my space went out and was out for a year. And I had the building owner, the landlord, it was in the lease contract. I thought I had all of my legal ducks in a row, and you just can't fight hard enough. So sometimes it just doesn't go the way you want it to go, and you have to account for that. So in your business plan, or in your mind, or in your goals and in your outlook, write in the horrible things that could happen that are completely uncontrollable. Because I tried. There was fighting and arm wrestling and withholding money and all of the things that you could even guess for. None of it actually worked. So uncontrollable circumstances, I wish I would have accounted for those a little bit more. Third one is Ron's favorite. So without Ron, and you've all met Ron, and Ron is distinctions for life. Without Ron forcing me to pay myself, literally forcing me to pay myself, I wouldn't have paid myself to this day. I still wouldn't have. Because when you've put that much blood and sweat, there might have been a tear, maybe one. You don't want to take money out of it. You want to just keep rolling money into your baby. That's your livelihood. And it's really hard to turn backwards until you have somebody basically coaching you through the most painful thing that you've been through, which is paying myself. And saying, Katie, you need to pay yourself. The domain will not survive if you're not surviving with it. So I had to pay myself. I reward myself now for doing my books. And I was doing my books, but I reward myself now for working harder, saving money, and keeping my overhead low. So now I get to actually keep my books. And if you haven't heard of Small Business Outfitters, that Mr. David Cranfield has actually been a really, really valuable resource as well for financial. To have both of them both telling me to pay myself, it made me feel less bad about paying myself. So, plus I do like clean toilets and stuff. So I feel like I deserve at least $5. So those are all of my lessons learned. I will take all the questions that y'all have. If I have the answers, I will say them. But if you ever need to just chat about business, if you need someone on your side, I'll be there at the Domain, right behind the First Financial Building, 14th and Willis. You can come see me anytime and have a cup of coffee with me. If you take a tour, I'll let you work for a day for free. So just come work with me, come have a cup of coffee with me, and if you just need somebody to have your back, I will do that for you. Are there any questions? Randy, you have mail.
I have a question.
Yes.
What part of the market do you not anticipate? Who's your primary customer?
So I actually anticipated the market that sits at Starbucks. So my market research was a lot of the folks that go to coffee shops and meet their clientele at coffee shops. And I thought that would be really a big piece of my market. And it actually ended up not to be at all. My biggest market is actually the month-to-month desk space, office space, and meeting center space. So it was much different than what I anticipated, even though my market did tell me, or while I was researching, they did say, oh my gosh, absolutely, I would definitely go work there as opposed to here. But for some reason, you can't get them out of that. Once they're really in the Starbucks coffee shop, they like the environment. And I mean, as much as I was fishing for them, I didn't get much of them. Yes?
What is your fee structure like?
My fee structure?
Yeah.
So we're month to month, and we lease, or we have memberships for office space, which is $445 a month. It comes with internet, notary services, reception services, and all of your utilities paid. So you only pay a membership, and I take care of the rest. I have desk space, which is $195 per month. Comes along with all of the bells and whistles. And then, of course, we have general members who have access to this space, and they get to come anytime they want to, 24/7, and use the internet. The meeting room is free for them to use. They just book it on a little app, and they get to use the meeting room, the event space, the little cafe space. I stock the cabinets with the coffee and all the good stuff that you need in an established office. I provide that for just a membership price. Oh, I'm sorry, and the general member is $95. Oh, jeez. And
so, Katie, how many offices do you have available right now?
0. So we are on a waiting list for offices currently, but because we are month to month, so for example, we have somebody starting up a business who is moving into their location as of February. So because we are no lease term and no required limits, we get people moving in and out, whenever they establish their business. He gets to move up into his big, huge office storefront, and then, of course, the office becomes available.
So you said that last year when you spoke, you had 2 members.
I had 2 members.
Right?
Yep.
So a year later, you booked all your offices. Matter of fact, you've turned some meeting spaces into offices in order to fill offices.
Yeah.
And how many hot desks do you have available right now?
I have 1.5. So.
Well, half of that, those desks are kind of small. Sit that close to them.
Well, I have one available as we speak. I have another one that's on a week pass that is going back to, I guess, traveling. So 1 week pass is expiring at the end of the week.
So you've got 2, we'll say 2. So 2 desks,
2 desks.
left.
Mm-hmm. Out of 9 desks.
Yeah. So you're almost at capacity a year later. Not counting general memberships, which are people who can sit anywhere.
I would say that we are growing out of our space, but it's still comfortable, right, guys? Like being there, it's still comfortable to be in and able to find a nice place to work.
Now that it has air conditioning.
Now that it has air conditioning, oh my gosh, yeah. It is on the corner of South 14th and Willis, right behind the First Financial Building, and you'll see the painting with a twist sign, and we're right next door. So we are in that same building as Painting with a Twist. So you'll see their sign first. Then you'll see mine.
What are the benefits of, you mentioned co-working concept is something a little different than just if I go rent an office. I mean, because I think of, working in different offices, you have community, and there's people you like to see, and they can be, it can be motivating. There's people you may not like to see.
Right. Yep.
But in your instance, I assume that there's the concept of a co-working space, there's some benefit and community there, and do you have...
Absolutely.
What are other benefits too? Is the second part of the question that you may be learning to...
Yes.
That you're going to, this year's plan. So.
Yeah, so actually that's a really fun question. The biggest marketing term for co-working whenever you're trying to start your own co-working space is everybody has to put community on everything because that's what they try really hard to influence. Well, with the domain at the very beginning, my community was 2 people, and one was a night owl, and the other was a night owl. Oh, okay, there we go. And then the other one was me. So influencing a whole lot of discussion between 2 people that didn't really know each other, it didn't come to fruition. So when I am now pretty much at capacity a year later, I have learned it does it itself. I don't have to put it on a billboard. It does it itself. Community didn't start with me making a pot of coffee. Community started while I wasn't there sometimes. Community started in the event space when I was in my closet, my broom closet. So it was really neat that it kind of developed into its own little personality by its own free will, I guess. And so now, because of the sense of community that you get, people do come in and take a tour and say, well, this is a really cool community, because they see 2 people talking over the coffee pot, and they see what they're dreaming up together, and that doesn't come by any other method than just putting the 2 right people in the same room. It's really neat. It's really neat.
Which I would imagine for a solopreneur, someone
that doesn't see humans.
That is a huge benefit versus just rent an office, commercially and all.
Right. Well, and actually one of my members told me the other day that he didn't get an office to be isolated. He got one because he needed to get out of his house and interact with other people. He felt like he was just becoming a hermit, and that was getting comfortable for him. So things like conference calls started to get really kind of uncomfortable. And so now that he's out and about and amongst humans, he's done a lot better, just being able to pick up the phone or just being able to, have those conference calls without the nerves of, I don't like people.
So you've got a tribe there, and that's the second part of my question is there any, do you want to mess with that, or do you feel like it being organic is...
No, I like it organic now. No, and actually, it's, as much as I try to join the tribe, I still would like it to be organic without me being there, just because I don't know, how long it is until I will have an employee in my place, and there's conversations still going on and still, building and growing and creating its own little atmosphere. So it's extremely valuable that I didn't even expect it to be so valuable. Yes?
So what is, use this group as kind of a bouncing ball. What do you need? What does your group need? Do they need accounting services? Do they need advertising services? What do they need? If you're going to add a service, what would you add?
Well, currently I have an event space, and I would like to be home. I would add an employee to watch my event space, but that's all I could ask for. Is
what about your clients? What do they need?
So my clients.
If you were going to move somebody in that would help them the most, what would you do? Who would you move in?
Well, let me ask one of my members, Lauren. Lauren, if I could offer something, what would you need?
If you could offer something, what would it be? Maybe letting the public know who you have in the space.
Oh, yeah, so maybe marketing for my members. So maybe more marketing for my members. That's a really good idea. I like that.
There's other good ideas in the room too.
Oh, I'm sure there's really great ones. Yeah. Oh, Topher, what do I need?
I would mimic that. I think a big struggle for most solopreneurs is getting the word out about the services that they offer. So if you could find a way to help them market to the Abilene community, that would be great. If you can just help them market to the people in the domain, that would probably be helpful. But yeah, taking it a step further, marketing outside of that, I think would be really good.
I like it. I like it. Ron?
You already get all my advice.
I do. I already got it all.
You have talked about doing some educational programming specifically for your members, which is kind of, I think, something that is related to what Paul's talking about too, is you could have people come in and talk about things like, what does a solopreneur or a very small person need in accounting? What do they need in insurance? That kind of thing, legal. Kind of the stuff we did at Venture Call about 2 months ago. Those sort of have someone come in and talk about those and have some kind of regular community meeting that's educational.
I agree.
With those other people that offer those types of services that would be able to tie in with your members and getting some sort of like discount or something with those services.
Yes.
You can have them coming in to your conference room and just like maybe like on a monthly
Absolutely.
basis. Like this person, and this person get contracts to where
Right.
you have a discount or something.
I like it. Yes. So in 2020, our work will have a quarterly educational seminar for all of our members, so that our members in small business, they can learn something through an expert every quarter. So every quarter they'll get a new course that they can sit in. No, that was already planned. Nope, that was already planned. The marketing has been in my mind for a while. We recently got the ability to market on like a moving billboard for the people in the domain, but it is small and it's in the plaza, so getting it outside the plaza is ideal. I would like to do that. There would be a cost to it, but I would like to do that.
This is just random, but one of the co-working spaces that I visited when I was on a business trip, basically every conference room had a television in it.
Yeah.
And when it wasn't being used, it was displaying that roll
The-
of ads for the people in the
Ooh, I could do that on the back one too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because you already do that to some extent on the front.
In the front one. Yeah. Very cool. I will do that on the back too. The back one's not smart though. I'll have to get an old school thumb drive. Oh, that too. Any other questions?
What do you feel like your greatest asset is as far as, well, what do you want people to associate, I mean, other than co-working, what do you feel, what is my question? Sorry.
What do you want people to feel who are your customers?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like
Oh.
getting that from the building.
What do you want people to feel as your customers? Or at least think about that they will feel.
I think I would like them to feel motivation. I would like them to feel motivation and unity, and but even if they don't want to be around people, then motivation and drive. It's hard not to in the space, but I want to always harbor that in the space. I'll lock it in when I leave.
I feel like you really are doing a good job of that because I know like moving, painting with a twist to the plaza, like just having the ability to walk down the hall and then go in and see other people who are going to the grind every day and all that because like you said, being by yourself is something that I need a little bit of outside motivation.
Yeah.
Me personally.
Mm-hmm.
And so having that there and the community that you've built is very, what's the word? It's very energetic and then it's contagious.
Yeah.
It is like just the work and seeing other people just getting after it and it's like, all right, I need to go get back after it. So
It's charging.
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
I like it. Any more questions?
Let's give Katie a thank you.
Okay, well, you can give me
Thank you. Okay, with our our remaining time, I want to kind of take us through what happened last year, because some of you, different people come in at different times throughout the course of the year, and so I'm going to just do this pretty quickly. By the way, this Venture Call logo is a new logo that some students from McMurray put together, and so I've started just recently using that. So, okay, and this logo in the middle, the Abilene Startup Community, that is one of the logos that they came up with, and so I'm sort of in the process of replacing my old original logo. The event breakout, kind of last year, this is kind of a summary page, so to speak. I sort of market, the Abilene Startup Community is this event, the lunch events that we have every week. And so as you can tell, they're pretty casual. What we do have, well, like last year, we had about 36 weekly lunches, and I don't keep count of how many people show up, but probably about an average, about 10 people a week show up. We had 12 Second Monday events. That's what this is at Potter's Pizza. And we probably have about this many, about 18 or 20 people show up for that usually. We also support the Million Cups at McMurray and the ACU Springboard. Then I have 2 annual events. One's called the Enterprise Exchange, and this past year we did one called On the Road of Recovery to Prosperity, and that's where members from the recovery community came in. Recovery community being people that have survived addictions and that kind of thing, and they came in, and we had some speakers that you'll recognize here in a minute. And then the business clinic we have in November, and there we had what I called 4 key connections. And we had a lawyer, CPA, banker, and insurance agent, and they spoke to us, and it was referred to by Ron a few minutes ago. So in January, we started with Katie Howe-Trevino. So you saw her live, so I'm probably not going to play the little clip that I have here. But Katie started off last year for us at this exact event on the second Monday. I'm going to skip. Then Dr. Bill Havens. Dr. Bill is he's an inventor. But he's a psychologist, okay? And he's worked with people with brain damage and all that kind of stuff. And he's invented this new, somebody help me, Chris. Remember Bill? He had, like on his motorcycle, he built a different way for people to process all the, like your oil pressure and all that kind of stuff. And it's based on how your mind works rather than the way the automotive community puts it on there. So he's in the process of inventing that. So really cool guy. So here's a couple of cool dudes. Dr. Paul Mason back there and myself, and we had a little debate about redefining work. And what we talked about was, does your worldview make a difference in the workplace? And I'll have to say, to Paul and my credit, that was the lowest attended event we had last year. So anyway, but we had a good time talking about different approaches to work and that kind of thing. So in April, we did not hold an event here, but we supported Dr. Paul's, they have what they call the 2019 Garrison Entrepreneur Lectureship that was at McMurray. And so we just supported that, and a bunch of our people, I think we got a table or a couple tables or something like that, and supported that event. Jeff Hoffman, tell us just a bit about Jeff Hoffman, Paul.
Jeff Hoffman was one of the first people involved in Rice Line, and he also holds the patent for the machine in the airport to spit out the boarding passes.
Mm-hmm.
And he told the story about how he was so frustrated standing in line waiting for one person, this long line, and one person to hand out the boarding passes that he felt in the machine. Now, he pretty much focusing on a shift along with student entrepreneurs and then entrepreneurs and they develop products for small businesses and for people who have problems to solve. What he hopefully done was find a problem and then find a solution. Like people in the rural areas of Ghana put up their huts during the day to collect solar power and use it for light at night. And literally, the kids who had never known their fathers, because the fathers were always out in the fields from dawn to dusk, now had light at night. So he was a very down-to-earth guy, and gave terrific lectures. His lunch lecture ran over 40 minutes, and the only people who left were students who had to go back. He was really fantastic. Since Mike gave me an opening, our next Garrison lecture is going to be by Dave Koplowitz on April the 20th. And she is the creator of the USA Network, our two network, the Sci-Fi Network back in the 70s, and has innovated in a number of other areas since. She'll be speaking in the same format as we've used before, an open lecture to anybody who wants to come, probably 10 o'clock in the morning, and then after the auditorium, and then the luncheon, which Duncan will once again develop a menu for, and I will get to the dessert. And that will cost like $25, and then there'll be an afternoon session for students, question and answer, where they can talk one-on-one. I saw one of my students out at Anshaw this morning, who's a graduating senior, and he was still waiting on Hoffman to let him know if he's going to be on the boat next year.
Oh, wow. Cool. Well, another benefit of me having your contact information is when those kind of things come up that are directly applied to entrepreneurship or small business, I'll shoot out a quick memo to you to say, hey, this is what's coming up. So on the next one, I want you to pay attention to the excellent camera work. That's when I was really getting into it. And
But if you are in Abilene for any length of time, you know that the military...
not like a steady hand.
...is pretty significant. Well, what happens with the military population, and Anna and I are veterans ourselves, as are most every single person on our staff. So this program is particularly meaningful to us. Of course, it wasn't around when I retired, so a little jealous. But the program is excellent. And of course, the intent for Skill Bridge, as it applies, is a way to bridge the gap between what military members have been exposed to during the time of their service and what they want to do, what they see in the future for life after the Air Force.
So that's the essence. Jackie and Adam are in the education department out at Dias. And I asked them to come and to be able to kind of explain this program, because there are some businesses that might be interested in hiring some of their people that are getting ready to retire. And so this program helps do that. In fact, the program pays for their salary for a period of time if they're still active duty. So anyway, I was glad that Dias could support us by coming out and telling us about that. This gentleman,
Well, so at the beginning.
David Cranfield knows
At
him.
the beginning of last year, I had realized that the battle of trying to find employees and training them the hard part is always, and I'm sure, I don't know what a lot of you guys' business models are, but the hard part is basically, as a small business owner, we spend thousands of dollars, possibly training technicians and employees. And how do you maximize that? How do you keep those guys from saying, hey, appreciate it, see you later, I'm gonna go work for this guy? Well,
So you can see as he's talking about the startup of his business and some of the challenges that he runs into as a small business person, probably a lot of people here can connect with the issue of employee issues, So this gentleman, Brian Massey, I didn't get my audio on here right, but Brian spoke last summer about Houses for Healing. Does everybody know what Houses for Healing is here in town? Yeah, it's a phenomenal thing. It's really a nonprofit, but Brian had a vision to take tiny houses and equip them and get sponsorships from churches and other nonprofits and so forth to help people coming in to Abilene from the big country who had maybe terminally ill or really long-term sick kids or family members that were like at Hendrick Hospital, and they can stay at these tiny houses for free, okay? And it's located up north of Hardin Simmons up in there, and they're just growing massively. It's a powerful work. So Brian spoke last summer here. And then we come to August, and remember me talking about the Enterprise Exchange. So right before school starts again, we have the Enterprise Exchange, which is the connection between nonprofit community and the for-profit community, and trying to facilitate dialogue. And here's a picture of some of the people. This panel discussion was based on people who intentionally hire people in the recovery community, people who've had addiction problems and that kind of stuff. And so, they were a panel discussion. And then the guest speakers we had, Chris disappeared. I guess he didn't want to see his picture. But Greg's still sitting back there. And so Chris and Rick are guys that have come through, and they'll tell you with their testimony, come through the whole addiction thing. And they're both have their own businesses and doing well with their businesses. And their message is, if I can do it with all my hang-ups, so can somebody else, that kind of thing. A powerful message. And Greg and Joyce, they own Nieces. I'm glad to have Joyce with us today. They own Nieces. It's a barber and cosmetology college. And so a lot of times people in prison, that's what they gravitate to. Am I right on that? To doing hair and that kind of stuff. And so they've had plenty of people where they've also accepted into their college to get formal education so that they can stand on their own in the public marketplace by being barbers or cosmetologists. Okay. Let's see. Oh, what time is it, sweetie? Does anybody know what time it is? It's what? Okay, well, I'm not going to play that.
You're always coming up all the time.
I just want you to show up on time. And you did today. Good job. This, very quickly, September, Jason Spatero, he's a cybersecurity guy from the Dias Air Force Base, and he came and spoke to us on information security for small businesses. And then Leland Harden, fascinating story. He is from Abilene, and he ended up starting a high-tech company in Silicon Valley. So it's quite a different story than most of ours around here, you know, except maybe Paul back there. But starting a business in Silicon Valley, and so kind of high-level stuff. But he's a down-to-earth guy. He lives here in Abilene now, again. So, yeah, he works out at, the way I met him, my mom's at Lindale Memory Care, which is an Alzheimer's unit, and he's out there working for them as well.
He also wrote books that are on Amazon for internet selling.
Yeah, for internet marketing and that kind of stuff. He's probably got 3 or 4 books in Amazon on that. And then in November, we had the business clinic, and here's a photo. And of course, Gary's back there. He's one of our guest speakers. Gala, and we met at, wasn't Cracker Barrel, Ron, it was the Golden Corral. Yeah, that's where we met. And so these folks were our guest speakers of their professions to kind of give information to us. I think it was Randy's first time to come and hang out with us, and so to talk about the importance of the services that professionals provide. And to wrap up the year, a familiar figure, Mr. Ron Davis, from Distinction. He's dancing, if you know, but we're not going to play any of that. But Ron handled the whole thing. He and his wife handled the whole thing for us last December for our last meeting. And in case you want to see the full-length videos on those, I just played a few seconds of some of them. You can go to YouTube, and if you just type in ASC Second Monday presentations, that will take you straight to my my page that has the playlist for that. Otherwise, you can go to Mike Mikeworth on YouTube and figure the way through to see these things. So that's it for this presentation, and I just wanted to kind of update you as to what we did last year and all the folks that spoke and supported that last year. Several that are sitting right here. I want to thank you guys and gals for doing that. It's really a privilege to have you guys come and invest in our little entrepreneur community. And when Katie was talking about community, I know what she's talking about because I didn't set out to start a community, but this has been going on for 5 years now, just organically. And like she said, for me, as I look at it, it just sort of, I don't know, it sort of happens, you know, and I didn't structure it to be such. But anyway, I look forward every Monday seeing you guys. And any parting comments before we go, close out?